Hello and welcome to Gilli Pong analysis. Today we are going to take a look at the annals of history, and we're gonna go and I noticed something that I have to kind of convey to you. I'm here to dispel the spell of all spells. From the alchemists of the Royal Society and the Freemasons of the world. I hope you will find this fascinating, and if you like what I'm trying to do here, be sure to like and subscribe, and comment, share your thoughts. But here, I have gathered a few tabs here. We're gonna go over it in a good way. So, on the royalsociety.org about us history, you can go through a timeline that is public for everyone in the world. Everybody can see this. And this timeline is basically showing you how it started in 1660, following a lecture by Sir Christopher Wren, a known Freemason. The Royal Society is founded at Gresham College with John Wilkins and Robert Boyle. Robert Boyle was one of the guys who created the Invisible School. He was the first chemist, created the Skeptical Chemist book. John Wilkins was considered a very nice guy. He got Robert Hooke involved and many others. This is all documented in my for presentation about Isaac Newton, the anti-Trinitarian alchemist. You can find that on my channel. But Christopher Wren is an architect. He creates massive amounts of buildings, 51 buildings in the city of London. And you have to understand, the city of London is not the UK. It is like the Vatican and Washington, D.C. They are all independent, what they call it, like states. And they have their own laws, their own courts, their own personal kind of thing. So this is the grandest spell we're taking a look at here. The witchcraft that creates our timeline. So King Charles II. The society receives a royal charter from Charles II, and a royal charter is like a patent from the royals, where you can do what you need to do. But King Charles II, there's a history behind that, and his father was beheaded after Oliver Cromwell created a revolution with his army and took over Britain. And he was the leading advocate of the execution of Charles I. So he becomes the Lord Protector in 1653. So this is preempting or pre-Royal Society founding. And this guy, when Charles II comes back after being exiled, Oliver Cromwell's head, he died from natural causes, but and he was given a public funeral at Westminster Abbey in 1658. But when Charles II came, when King Charles II was recalled from exile, his new parliament in January 1661 ordered the disinterment of the elder Cromwell's body from Westminster Abbey, as well as those of John Bradshaw and Henry Ireton, for the posthumous execution at Tyburn. The three bodies were left hanging from morning till 4 in the afternoon before cut down and beheaded. The heads were then placed on a 20-foot, 6.1 meter poles and displayed on the roof of Westminster Hall. the location of the trial of Charles I. So this is like a huge thing that's going on there. I digress. So King Charles II gives the Royal Society this charter. Robert Hooke makes Micrographia, where he paints a picture of a flea, or draws a picture of a flea, which was believed to be the reason for a disease back then, smallpox. And they observe little animals in rainwater. And then the Principia Mathematica comes out by this alchemist, anti-Trinitarian sex magic practitioner Isaac Newton, who is trying to Christify himself. And he creates the grandest illusion of them all, the heliocentric system. And he tries to prove gravity. And if you go down into the annals of the physicists today, they don't know what gravity is. They can't. They can observe it, and they can measure it, and they can predict it, but they have no idea what it is, where it comes from, if it is real. And Einstein later, who was another known Freemason, well, it's questionable, I agree, but there were some historical records that he was going to Freemason meetings, and he creates another illusion where time is relative and gravity is not a force. This guy is saying gravity is a force. And then Hans Sloane creates the British Museum, which is pillaging the societies on Earth. And here you see a connection to Washington, D.C. So Benjamin Franklin creates the first scientific experiment by taking a kite and seeing that lightning has electricity. And then we go into this transit of Venus. So they are mapping the world with James Cook, Captain Cook, who is known for, and he was given a vessel and the royal charter of figuring out how the world looks. And remember, like, this is in 1700s. It's not like the world isn't populated with people. There are civilizations everywhere on Earth, but these, I don't want to swear, but these nincompoops, let's just use a very weird swear here, douchebags, think they are figuring something out. But these are alchemists, and these are Freemasons, and they are doing some craft, witchcraft, spelling, spells. And this transit of Venus is very interesting, because this, like in his second expedition, Cook is trying to navigate and go around the Antarctica, but he ends up failing after 83,000 miles or something. So he's just going around a huge thing, and he can't figure it out. And they're creating the globe map, but every globe that you're trying to buy to date is not for educational purposes. It's only for decorative purposes. So this is the biggest illusion we are talking about here. The biggest spell that has created a world where everybody just believes certain things. And it creates scientism, it creates atheism, it creates, like Newton is talking about, there's no up or down in space, everything is relative with a Newton, no Einstein, and all these nonsense that we know reality doesn't tell us. Like time, what is time? All this bullshit that you see the physicists talk today. And now they're talking about quantum gravity. But anyway, I digress. Let's go back to another timeline, which I thought was very, very revealing. Because what we were looking at earlier, is a timeline where the public is being informed about something. But here, this is from the royalsociety.org. And it is the trustees report financial statements for 2022 and 2023. Okay, and here you see the same beginning, 1660. Christopher Wren starts the Royal Society. And then they add this here, which I found very revealing. The Royal Society publishes its first book, John Evelyn's Silva. This recognized the impact of humans on the natural world and the need for sustainability. You might have heard that word being thrown around everywhere. Sustainability. At your work office, if you're working for a big corporation, I'm working for the beast system. So I have seen this everywhere. Sustainability, sustainability. What's sustainability? So what is it? The first time we saw sustainability in its current form today, it seems incredible, but the sustainability concept as we know it today dates back under 30 years ago. It appeared for the first time in 1987 in the famous Brundtland Report, also entitled Our Common Future, produced by several countries for the United Nations. We are looking at the pillar of an illusion that we're trying to break down, the house of cards. Remember that. So, sustainability is a bullshit concept created by a Norwegian prime minister for the United Nations. Silva is a book, here it is, from the 1700s, 1600s. It's a discourse of forest trees. They're trying to protect the trees in this book because they are cutting them down for what? Building ships, creating a navy, creating the Royal Navy that is navigating the world, maybe. So that could be construed or manipulated into becoming an information for the people who are funding the Royal Society, the big funders, right? So the Royal Society, I saw a number thrown in this report that they aim to get £20 billion from the UK government. They're now getting £14.7 billion. So, sustainability, check. Something about the ESG score, the BlackRock funded Vogue thing, equity and inclusion, social and economic way of handling the current thing that we're seeing in the media. Because these guys today, they own the media. They're controlling the narrative of what we are talking about here. So in 1796, this is another lecture I went into, or lecture analysis, where I was analyzing the Edward Jenner case. You can find it in my videos, Germ Theory Part 2. The origins of this germ theory thing, which is a theory, by the way. So Edward Jenner, for us, trials his first vacca using cowpox to protect against smallpox. So cowpox comes from vacca, means is the Latin word for cow. So vaccinia was the Latin word for cowpox. So that's why we call it this word that is now protected somehow. You get banned if you talk about it on social media. And here they state that they're saving millions of lives, but Edward Jenner, 3 of his relatives died from tuberculosis, and there was a lot of talk that syphilis was also being spread because he was taking cowpox from warts and from pusses from others and putting them into the open source, grafting contaminated material and then proving to everyone that this is the reason why things are happening like this. But I highly recommend you go down that rabbit hole with me in another video. But we're going to skip over a few here because in this one there's also this 2010, and this is for the people that want to fund this reality timeline shit that we're going through today. Excuse me for swearing, but it's very important that you get this information in the right way. So Kostya Novoselov got the Nobel Prize in Physics with Andrei Geim for their work on graphene. Graphene, this new form of carbon, is only one atom thick, but could lead to the manufacture of innovative electronics. Questionable, I believe, because this is the graphene that you can put on fences, but it's also graphene that you can put into the baka thing. Now, we go down another wormhole. 1956. A very interesting year. The society establishes a research base at Hereby, Antarctica. Here, in 1985, dramatic losses in the ozone layer are observed, and the base remains an important location for another big thing that we're talking about every day: climate research. Something that used to be warming now becomes change, and is all connected to the climate. But do you remember the ozone layer? I am old enough to remember the ozone layer. I remember when everybody was spraying hairspray and everybody was thinking, oh no, you're gonna break a hole in the ozone layer. Now, nobody talks about the ozone layer. Nobody. But I'm old enough to remember it. This was a huge thing. And I was very, like in 1992, there was this big climate thing in Brazil, Rio de Janeiro. Everybody was talking about it. Now, and I told my mother, don't let the water run when we're brushing our teeth. But in Iceland, water just runs. It's a system that goes in a circle. You know, the water vapors from the ocean goes into the hills and creates rivers, and it comes down. You know, but in this thing, I was so young watching this, maybe 12 years old, seeing this on TV. And this is like from the same kind of thing. But let's go back to 1956. What is happening in 1956? And why are they using a globe in their financial report here for the trustees? Why is there a blue marble picture in the Royal Society document? A known manipulated image. They took the map of the world and then wrapped the flat map around a ball. This is from nasa.gov. This is Robert Simmons, aka Mr. Blue Marble. This is the picture that was on every iPhone that you got. It was the default desktop on every iPhone. This picture. There are no stars here. It's a manipulated, photoshopped image of what they said was the picture of the globe. So, we're dispelling it. We are anti-mages, looking at these mages and what they've done in the past. So in 1956, they create a research base, Hereby, on Antarctica. In 1957, the Russians create the launch of Sputnik. So NASA is created in 1958. And Werner von Braun is one of them. And he is very tied to Disney. And if you look at the history here, this is how they play with you, right? William Herschel discovers a new body in the solar system. Sensationally, it is a planet, reported to the Royal Society as Georgium Sidus, Georgius Star. But by 1783, this is 1783, right? But it's eventually renamed to Uranus. You see this, right? I'm not insane. It's all if you understand the method being used here. These are the people that create the banks. They are the masters of the mint. They are the royals taking over India. They are the ones that are creating a war in the United States in the 776. The Masons, right? So what else did the Masons do connected to the Antarctica? Well, if we look at Mr. Richard E. Byrd, who created the first Masonic expedition to the Antarctica.
Richard Byrd was not only an active Freemason, he also had his own Masonic order, and he also built Masonic lodges in Antarctica. He was raised, which means becoming a Master Mason, at Federal Lodge number 1 in Washington, D.C.
Washington, D.C. I just want to show you another thing here connected to this. There was an Antarctic treaty system created, and it was signed in the 1st of December 1959. Haley Bay, Antarctica, 1956. NASA, Sputnik, 57. NASA, 58. Antarctica Treaty, 59. These are very few years apart. And the Masons of the world are working together to create something here. But here, let's go to 1928, first expedition by Richard E. Byrd.
On March 9th, 1921, and he's also affiliated with Kane Lodge number 454 in New York City, September 18th, 1928. The reason why the September 18th, 1928 date is that is right before he got on the boat to leave to Antarctica. It was in late 1928 when Byrd began his first expedition to Antarctica. And he took the boat called the City of New York. This boat right here, he took it to Antarctica. But before he got on this boat to leave for Antarctica, his stop right before that was at the Kane Lodge number 454 in New York City in September of 1928. This is the book that discusses that Antarctic expedition. It's called Little America, written by Richard Byrd. And when you'll read this book, you'll realize that this is not a Navy or a U.S. government expedition. This boat that went to Antarctica for the first expedition is not Navy or anything like that. This is a 100% Masonic expedition. Byrd talks thoroughly in this book about how he had to raise funding from all of his friends, from guys, fellow Freemasons like Henry Ford. And it was all Masons who...
Henry Ford? Ring a bell?
...who funded this first expedition. And it is no exaggeration to say that the first Antarctic expedition from the United States, this one right here, is through and through a Masonic expedition. And not only the first one, the second one as well. The second Antarctic expedition in 1934, when they built Little America 2, as discussed in this book right here, Discovery. This base right here, Little America, which they built in the Bay of Whales by digging down into the ice, and was later exposed when an iceberg broke. It's also interesting to note that these bases sink in the ice over time. In just 5 years, between 1929 and 1934, the Little America base sunk approximately 25 to 30 feet into the ice. And while they did use some of the old buildings below, they had to dig out all new buildings that were further up and closer to the surface. And upon returning from his first expedition in 1930, he was awarded a gold medal by the Kane Masonic Lodge. And the funny thing is that during these expeditions, for anybody who crossed south of 66 degrees, or the Antarctic Circle, which we could see the line right here, anyone with Richard Byrd who was in his boat and crossed this Antarctic Circle at 66 degrees south, was required to join Richard Byrd's Masonic order called Order of the Penguin, officially established by Rear Admiral Richard Byrd. This is to certify that John has entered the domain of the Penguin, having crossed the Antarctic Circle at longitude 174 on the USS Philippine Sea in 1947. This is during Operation High Jump, with the Masonic United States seal with the Star of Rimfam on top. Here's some of the mail that comes from Antarctica. And Brother Rear Admiral Richard Byrd, the Freemason, Kane Lodge, number 454. William Thomas Chandler, 19, on the USS Philippine Sea, has been made a charter member of the Order of the Penguin, an order created by Rear Admiral Richard E. Byrd for the men of Task Force 68 who crossed the Antarctic Circle while participating in the Operation High Jump. I think this is...
So Operation High Jump, you can go and find a video on YouTube that is called The Secret Land, Operation High Jump, U.S. Navy Antarctic Expedition in 1946.
The expedition
Takes 3 years to
you, Admiral
do this.
Cruzen, as the task force commander, and we get everything we need. That makes Operation High Jump the greatest polar expedition in history.
Admiral, time is going to be our greatest handicap. By the time we get through this very difficult ice pack, the summer will have ended and the fall will have set in.
Never before has anyone attempted to take a fleet of thin-skinned steel ships through 300 miles or more of crushing ice pack.
I have great faith in your skill, courage, and determination. And now, gentlemen,
Admiral Nimitz reviews the operations plan. The expedition will comprise 3 groups: a central land plane group to explore the interior from Little America, and 2 seaplane groups, the eastern to map that half of the continental shoreline, and the western to map the opposite coast of Antarctica. After the original orders have been issued, 3 months of planning are needed to organize the giant venture.
This is Robert Taylor speaking. At the world's greatest naval base, Norfolk, Virginia, ships of the Central and Eastern groups are loading. The flagship, Mount Olympus, equipped with powerful radio and radar, will serve as the leader's voice of command. Admirals Byrd and Cruzen come aboard to check staff preparations, food, fuel, and clothing for 4,000. Byrd greets out the expedition. Not a few vessels, but a fleet. Officers and men, not hundreds, but thousands, and pilots by the score.
So they're airplanes, they're aircraft carriers, they're submarines, they're 4,000 men going on this expedition. And this isn't 48, or 47, 48, 49, 50. He comes back, he dies in 1957, just after Haley Bay is created in 1956. So you see, the Royal Society is an official thing that is controlling what science is in the world. And then you have these expeditions being funded by the same entities that are in the same kind of lodges there. And also in this, there is every soldier that was traveling on this had to be sworn into the Order of the Penguin. And the Antarctic Treaty was signed to protect the ice and the penguins. So you start seeing things, right? They're hiding something. And this is why isn't there a picture of Haley Bay here? Why is there a picture of the globe here? Read between the lines. Start realizing that there's a huge timeline that has been created in our reality, and people are kept under the influence of this spell. It creates atheism, it creates scientism, and a lot of these scientists this is such a grand illusion that even the highest, smartest scientists don't see the lie. So they're trying to create experiments based on the lie, and they're failing over and over and over again. The gravity is a force versus gravity is not a force. What is gravity? We don't know what gravity is. And this thing is causing a lot of issues. And Werner von Braun had one little inscription on his... Werner von Braun is the Nazi from Operation Paperclip that comes and creates NASA. He was a rocket scientist. And on his deathbed, or after he dies, he puts this on Psalms 19:1. The heavens declare the almighty of God, and the firmament showeth his handiwork. The firmament. And when you look at this picture here, what are they hiding?
Earth below.
What are they
would
hiding?
add a flat Earth below.
You see the flat Earth there?
Say this is the dome firmament with the flat Earth below. Why they would add a sinking ship is beyond me, but to all deep water sailors, wherever you may be, and to all seals, walruses, whales, penguins, and shivering mermaids, and all the inhabitants of the sea and the polar ice, greetings. Know ye that on the 24th day of January 1947, the longitude 174 degrees west.
Notice this witchcraft. These are sailors, men, 4,000 of them, going to their deaths. There are people dying. There are planes crashing. There are ships getting stuck, getting pushed by the ice. And they have a picture of a naked mermaid. And they make it like it's a Disney card. You see? So you have to sign this in order to be allowed to go over the 66 degrees south on the map. And these are the guys who created the map. The Royal Society, the transit of Venus that I showed you here, the creation of the solar system and Uranus, transit of Venus. The Royal Society backs an expedition to observe the transit of Venus from Tahiti. The vessel Endeavour, commanded by Lieutenant James Cook, reaches Australia and New Zealand. And this is like a Hollywood movie, what they were doing. They were traveling for years on the sea. But if you look at James Cook, and you can find his Wikipedia page. I'm using Wikipedia because it's still kind of reliable information today. They haven't found a way to completely edit everything. But if you go on the Wikipedia page, and he was a cartographer, he was creating the maps, then you can see that on this expedition, where is he going? He's trying to go around Antarctica, right? That should just be going here, here, and here, right? But he goes, this is the green line. That's the second expedition that we're talking about. He goes here, 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 like here, 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 83,000 miles or something. And he ends it. He can't go around Antarctica. Why? Why? And this Operation High Jump, Masonically funded, Royal Society, Antarctica, Haley Bay, Masonic entity. You start seeing through the lines here. We're being lied to. And if we wake up, the easier it is for us to unite against these few people that are controlling what you think about science, what you think about germs, what you think about the world, the true earth that we're living on, what we think about the firmament, what we think about the sun and the moon, and everything connected to it. And if you think this is a huge lie, yes, it is. It is the biggest spell ever created in the history of mankind. And it's real. And we have to wake up and we have to unite and we have to fight them back, because they're sucking your money through the tax systems. They're taking away everything you own. And this Klaus Schwab, not gonna swear, guy is now telling you that you will own nothing and you will be happy. And according to the law, a reset is something. If you look up reset in law books, it is theft. It is taking over your ownership of your land, of your house, of your car, and you will be happy. It's happening, and we have to be strong. We have to fight back, and we do that with knowledge and pushing down this house of cards. So, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have the most beautiful present moment, now and always. And remember, it's time to shine. So, let's glow.
Gilli Pong!
MLS,